right, thank you so much for staying with us. Of course, you're watching Morning Cafe. Being a Wednesday, it's Relationship Wednesday. And it's funny because the conversation you're having this morning, my guest has already mentioned that it was the previous conversation was a little bit toxic. And that is what you're talking about today, but toxicity in the, context of relationship. And we're narrowing down to, narcissism. When does now narcissism gets into the picture and now, it becomes a disorder that, the relationship now becomes very, very toxic and unsafe to stay in. How do we realize these patterns and just walk away, stay, or fix it? So that's the conversation you're having this morning on Relationship Wednesday. I have Richard Ziwe, Zimbalist, a counselor, and of course, Mercy Nzuki, a psychologist. Mercy is also known as the mind advocate, right, Mercy?
Yes, yes.
And of course, kama kawaida, if you have any question, any comment to, of course, our guest in studio, and you want to call in live, please do so. There will be a number on your screen very shortly, and do interact with us on our socials as well as at TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, and on X at TV47 News KE. You can tag me as well. And the question you're asking on social media is, have you been with a narcissist before? How was your experience? Talk to us below. I'll be sure to read your feedback, of course, as the conversation progresses. It's good to see you again, ladies and gentlemen, because we've been here before and it's been so long. You guys haven't been here in such a long time. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, we are.
I was listening to something, and this speaker was saying, toxic attract toxic. You know, the way you say you are who you are. That sometimes when you experience somebody being toxic in a relationship, your partner is toxic, it mirrors just who you are. How true is that, Richard?
Well,
we started on a high note.
You cannot give what you do not have.
Okay.
So often, what you contribute to any relationship must be inside. And if it's not in there, you don't have it to give it. And there's a way you reciprocate what you are attracted to. And if one would be in an ecosystem where you have relationships round about you, pretty much there's a way you would attract people after your kind. It's quite unlikely that you attract people who are not just like you. Yeah.
So most of the people who say they are in toxic relationship is because maybe they are toxic in a way?
Not necessarily. If the background where they've been raised was associated closely with abuse and a lot of toxicity in the family, there's what I call trauma bonding. And as a result, you find an affinity to be attracted to the same people who are pretty much so close to what you grew up with. And that way, you get to be involved in these people. And that doesn't take long. You begin to hurt people also because you're hurting. You came from an environment where you're not loved, you're not appreciated, you're not celebrated, you're abused constantly, either physically or verbally, sexually. So you carry that into the relationship which you're getting to, if it's a man or it's a woman. And in turn, the cycle goes on, you know?
And I love that you've also started us on a high note. You mentioned trauma bonding, of course, before we bring in Mercy. But usually we hear about soul ties, of course, for people who sometimes engage in sexual intercourse, if at all they're not married. But how does trauma bonding really present itself? Is it more of emotional or, say, even religious way, cultural ways? How does it present itself, and how does it now come to be this powerful thing that is so hard to get out of?
My experience and counseling people that I've been able to help over time, it's a subtle behavior from the person who is abusing the victim. And after they've been involved in a relationship for a long time, there's a way they manipulate the individual. Even in the process of the abuses that go on, which is a continuous experience. And this person gets to a place where they're frustrated, they want peace. And the quest for peace, this guy or this lady has a way to lure this individual to a bond where it feels safe, but actually you're bleeding. It's like arrows going through you at the back, you're bleeding, and you're in an embrace. That feels almost comfortable, but it's not comfortable. I abuse you, I insult you, and I tell you you're the problem. But it's never that serious. You're hugging the individual. Aye.
That's emotional abuse.
Yes. You cheat on me, and you catch me where I'm cheating. But there's a way I'll flip the script, and still I'll twist it in a way, and it feels I heap the guilt on you. And you have to run to me and say, but you see, you're the one denying me the opportunity to... So you run back to the same individual. It's this trauma bonding. It's a perpetual state of abuse. And if one does not seek therapy and help and counseling on a continuous process, you can pass it on to many people. And then many people will imitate, thinking that's a healthy way to relate in relationship, and it's never healthy.
All right, Mercy, now what makes a relationship toxic from where you sit? I know Richard has mentioned a couple of things, but what are the signs to look out for? You know, you've just started out in this relationship. It gets to a point where he mentioned cheating, things like, you know, this emotional abuse, emotional manipulation. But what are the signs of toxicity? Things that we often overlook when you're in relationships and, you know, we just get too comfortable. What would you say these are?
Oh, thank you for that question. So we look at the emotional well-being. So look at a person as a whole person. You have emotions, you have your mind, you have your social life, and also your physical well-being. So when you look at signs, telltale signs of toxic relationship, is this person emotionally hurting you? Or are they saying something that is actually making you feel demeaned, less worthy? That's emotional. Is it affecting how you think? Are they making you feel as if you don't have what it takes? You know, that's mental. Yeah, and even how they relate with you. How do they socialize with you? Do they isolate you? Do they? So those are some of the telltale signs of emotional toxicity.
Toxicity in relationships.
Yeah, in relationships.
And even as you talk about these signs that we're talking about emotional abuse, mostly it's emotional. But sometimes there are these relationships that they say that, you know, this is something that you can just sit down with your partner, try and fix things, try and talk them out. Say somebody... Sometimes they say that communication is the problem in the relationship. So when now do we come to the point that now you say that this relationship is very unsafe for me, but now this one, we can work on it and, you know, find a common ground and see if we can fix this relationship. When do you now realize that this is very unsafe, but this, we can work on it, Mercy?
Thank you for that. So like, if you realize it's actually causing you to second guess yourself, like talk of a narcissistic relationship, for example. A narcissist is somebody who is full of themselves. They feel like they have what it takes. They are perfect. The other people are the imperfect ones. So they make you to sort of be hyper-vigilant. Like you're not, it's not working for you and all that. So at the end of the day, if you realize that you're in a relationship that is making you second guess yourself, it makes you experience low self-esteem. And maybe sometimes it goes overboard to even something that is very rampant in this country, whereby you feel somebody is threatening to kill you. It's verbal violence, you know. At the end of the day, that already tells you you need to do something about it because you're the most important person to yourself. Yeah.
And Ziwa, you know, now Mercy is bringing in the aspect of a narcissist, of course, which also is the basis of the conversation you're having this morning, a narcissistic abuse. But, you know, this word we loosely, we use it just loosely, you know, we throw it around. You're a narcissist, this is narcissism. But what goes on in the mind of a narcissist, from the people that you've interacted with, the people you've counseled, those in marriage, those in relationships, what goes on in their mind?
I think it's a mental problem, it's a sickness in my observation. It's an impairment that you cannot ignore. And sad to say, you find these people with a sense of grandiosity, and we live with them. Some are family members, their husbands, their wives, some are children we've grown up with, some are neighbors you're living next to, but they have this sense of grandiose that everything rotates and spins around them. And if you're not subservient to them, you're in trouble. They will reduce you to rubble. They will find a way to always live like life rotates and spins around them. If you're driving in traffic, you can see them. They think every car should be on the side so that they should be able to pass.
Yeah.
You know, if it is in a line and you're lining up in a bank, they want everyone to notice them. There is a behavior pattern that is exhibited by some of these people. And it has different expressions. There are those who are covert narcissists. There is a way they eat at the self-esteem of everyone round about to them, so that the light still comes on them. And you might not even notice actually they're doing it. They can come and visit you in a hospital. I was in Aga Khan Hospital the other day, visiting a patient with dealing with cancer. They're the kind who bring flowers to the patient. Then they gaslight everyone else. And
Everyone who has not brought flowers.
exactly. So they're the ones who would visit your relative in the village, and they carry food, and they talk everything nice about themselves and talk everything ill about everyone else. They come to the family events, and if you don't celebrate them, you're in trouble. And they want people always to bootlick them. So I talk about this subject with a little precaution, because these are people we live with, we deal with. You just need to learn how to live with them and how not to lose your own persona at their expense. How do you navigate the journey if it is your son, if it's your daughter? How do you not lose the relationship with the spouse, knowing where they're coming from? Because I have a great encounter I've had in the past of a couple of people who are close home, yet not to home. And my experience is like these people are like 8 years, 7 years, 5 years, 6 year olds that have never grown up emotionally. Given an opportunity, because of the abuse they have gone through, they will strike out at any one time before anyone gets into their space.
Yeah.
Yet the other quadrant I've also observed, they seem to have been so inflated in life by their parents, the way they were raised. They're just nasty. They don't give a thought about everyone else. Everything is about them, the way they talk, the way they do things. They seem to be aggressive, but that aggression seeks to hurt and harm others at the expense of who they are. And I'm like, that's not healthy. So I think when you get to talk about narcissism, it's a mental health problem. And sad to say, I should say, my observation, you can't cure it. Some people, you have to distance yourself away from them, break away from them, or learn how to leverage on what works for you and see how you can navigate a few things that can bring a workable relationship. But if you can't,
but Richard, at what point does it now become a disorder? Because we've seen, when you talk about it can be a mental health issue, we've seen a lot of issues, bipolar, if you're talking about it, there are a lot. But now for these ones, sometimes they say the recommendations that they're given, of course, to help really just regulate somebody else's emotions. But how, at what point does now narcissism becomes a disorder? And of course now on their side as well, because now you're telling us we have to know how to live with them. Now, how do they live with people? Even as they are struggling with whatever they're struggling with, they have to also live with us as much as we want to live with them.
Thank you. I'm a hopeless optimist.
Hopeless romantic.
I always want to give people benefit of a doubt. I give you a 10 until you disprove me and I begin reducing. And there are people who have actually given me opportunity to reduce until I'm at 0 when it comes to that particular individual. Because in their expression of their narcissism around people and relationships that were close to them, they sought to kill the people. They batter the wife they cut off their hands, they do things that are out of this realm. Now that, you can't do much about it.
Yeah.
Distance yourself from such a person. Counseling and therapy can't restore such a man. Period.
It's that bad with narcissism.
How does somebody become a narcissist? Maybe we start from there.
Yes.
So there's adverse childhood effects. We call them adverse childhood effects. These are childhood traumas that somebody grows up with.
The environment.
Yes, the environment. So imagine you're raised, a child is growing up in a space where the parents are always sort of rejecting, like they are lashing outwards at this child. This child already, it communicates to this child, he's not loved or she's not loved. So at the end of the day, they develop, because human beings, we develop something we call defense mechanism. When somebody attacks you, naturally, we have an emotional brain. Yeah? Naturally, it communicates. You need to either fight back or you flight. We call it the fight or flight response. So depending on where you are and how you've been socialized, then you're going to act according to that. Because children are born as empty slates. Even the ones who are struggling with narcissism as adults, you will realize it is coming from somewhere. It's emanating, either sometimes it's adverse childhood experiences, sometimes it's they've grown up in a space where the parents have always been telling them you're the perfect one. Like it's just them. And then all of a sudden, they are being exposed to a world where people want, apart from just talking about yourself, you need to also appreciate that the other person is there. You see, already it distorts how they were socialized. So it starts from, and that's why I'm very passionate about supporting children, adolescents, and young people, because it starts from there. Because if you're able to look at how they are conditioned, what is causing them to act the way they act, because people don't act, even the ones who are struggling with narcissism, they don't act as narcissists because sometimes they want to. Sometimes either they know it, or we call it unconsciously. They don't know. It's you who is relating with them. You're like, hey, this person is full of themselves. You know, so at the end of the day, it comes with awareness. For them particularly, being aware that there are traits that you carry that exhibit narcissism. And then now seek support, just as my colleague has said. Go through therapy so that you are able to, because what you learned, you can actually unlearn it and relearn a new way of living that accommodates everyone else.
But Mercy, of course, you mentioned that you deal with kids, and you mentioned something quite interesting, that sometimes it starts from, childhood, how the mind of a child has been conditioned. They're told, you're perfect. And now we see this online a lot. You see, sometimes kids are going to school, they're being told to face the mirror and say, oh, you're confident, you're perfect, you're the best of the best, or you're the best in the world, you're the thriving child. But now this, of course, the child grows up with that mindset that, I'm the best, just like you've mentioned. But now, how should now these parents, come to the point where, as much as they're trying to inflict confidence in this child, they're not trying to also just incorporate or just infiltrate these narcissistic behaviors that, of course, will come up as they grow into adults. Like you say, we're saying it grows with you. So how, I understand it should start from parents. So how should they now change that tactic? You can be confident, but not overconfident, and to an extent that it overpowers, other people's way of life as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. So with parents, it's modeling. How do you model as a parent? And that's why I love talking to parents. So I talk to parents and I also deal with children as well. Because you can't deal with children without dealing with a parent. And there's something called gentle parenting. Which is being able to be present in your child's life. And remember, apart from what you're saying as a parent, you're instructing the child to do, the child is also mimicking, is also observing you and seeing how you react. So at the end of the day, as a parent, are you able to showcase imperfection? Gone are those days. In my time, our parents got A's in school. They were number one.
All of them.
And you tend to ask, was there anyone who was the last one? Because every parent was like that. So now, in this age that we are in this era, we need to model imperfection as parents, because we are also not perfect individuals. Because children learn from modeling. And they grow up knowing that is the only way, because they want to be affirmed, because the parents are they are the people the children actually envision to become. They are the heroes to a child. So it starts with, let's model imperfection. So if you're frustrated, I'm not saying you overshare to your child. No. I'm saying be vulnerable enough. Exercise that with your child. Normalize your child failing in exams. When akikuja nakwambia, you know, mom, I didn't do well in this, and this. How do you take it? Because it's that conversation. How do you handle it? So are you able to encourage them, but at the same time, motivate them to want to do better the next time? Or do you demean them? So when you demean them continuously, they learn that for sure I have to perform. It's a performance. So I have to get number one. If I don't get number one, then I am not good. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. So that's what I will recommend to parents to do.
All about modeling.
Modeling.
All right. And Richard, you mentioned something about, you know, the narcissists are everywhere. We are working with them. Some are leaders, like
Could
you
be your
said.
boss.
You also said that, you know, they're just walking around freely, just spewing these narcissistic behaviors on everybody else. But does it now present itself differently from, you know, relationships and how they work with other people? Because I understand that if in a relationship they're, say, romantically involved, emotional manipulation is very easier for somebody whom they're in a relationship with. They see them every day or they talk to them every day. But now how does these traits present themselves differently at workplaces, at home, in families, with significant others? Tell us about that.
My practical experience has been that if it's in a family setting, you can tell a narcissistic spouse with people they're leading with, they're overly domineering. My children cannot come to see your parent. It's about them. They can come see my parents, but yours, they cannot see them. We have a way we have normalized certain behavior patterns, abusive behavior patterns, which tend towards narcissism, because they would not want light to shine on anyone else except them. So if a husband or a wife is involved in some of these experiences, you can tell when someone is constantly deflecting. You make propositions towards certain things and you find a spin around it.
Without proper communication.
There's communication, but there's effective communication in that particular sense. So I've observed what has been happening to people I've worked with closely in our counseling sessions. And I'm like, that is not healthy. But the borderline is very narcissistic. Then later you discover it didn't stop there. The man raises his voice in a manner that tells you it's not just being abusive. The woman is in terror. She has a constant consciousness of fear around her concerning her spouse and what he's going to do. If she's away from him, and you're driving home and I've literally been in a place where someone takes a lift with me. And because the husband is never settled, that my wife is not with me, who are you with? Let me talk to them. Put them on loudspeaker. You're not being protective. You're not just being insecure. You're being manipulative. And that narcissistic behavior leads to a series of other things. And sometimes when you're growing up, you're told about the idea that things that happen in a house are not meant to be known outside the house. Abuse always thrives in silence. I always tell people, please, relationships are healed in conversation. Find a safe space with people maybe of the same gender and talk about what you're going through if it's not healthy. If it's children, the same. I'd say, please find someone or send your children to uncles, aunties, counselors, and spaces where you know it is safe. Professional spaces where you know it is safe, and let them break into conversation. Because these things adversely affect our normal social interactions with people. What happens in a house, you take it to the workplace. If a man is narcissistic at home, it's quite unlikely that at the office will be an angel. They will exhibit the behavior of an angel because that's also part of some of their behavior.
Yeah.
They shine out loud out there. And the wife decides,
He's the same person.
Yeah.
I wish you knew. You know that glance and you know that emotion they project.
Hating each other.
And like, hey, the guy is an angel at church. In the parking lot guiding traffic. But at home, as soon as they enter the car,
Yeah.
that's when you know that guy is not just toxic, he's narcissistic. There are things that you can tell signs that always would come off out of spontaneity in being in proxy with these people. I think it's more perception, more than perception, it's I'm trying to look for the correct word. We send vibrations when we enter any space. And that vibration, you can feel it literally in every home you enter. You enter a home, you know which chair you're not supposed to sit in.
That belongs to the
No one
father.
has told you, but you know.
Unspoken rules.
You know that guy, that lady. And you can protect yourself from such. And the quickest way to do that, once you see it, talk to someone about it.
You mentioned something about sometimes this toxic behavior and narcissism can present itself sometimes in marriages and where children are involved, that sometimes the other partner can, you know, put a barrier in terms of who sees the parents, you know. And we've also had this conversation around where do we go for Christmas? And we have partners where say, Christmas is at the husband's place. Is that a form of toxicity somehow? Because now if they say we can never go for holidays at a lady's place or at the man's place, we just have to go to the man's place during holidays. Is that abuse or toxicity?
I think life requires some sense of balance. You didn't marry your spouse independent of family and their unique cultural experiences. You're denying your children and you deny yourself the opportunity to exist in the ecosystems they used to be in before they got married to you. I think it's not healthy. It requires one to have a healthy balance. We all lack balance, and I would tell someone like that, you all lack balance. You need to have some sense of balance. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your children. But there's a place where a man is overly domineering toward his spouse, because they say when a woman gets married, you leave your father and mother to join your husband. But the same is true towards the husband. You also leave your father and mother and be joined to your own spouse. And you create your own culture that fits within what you would want to work and pass on to your children. Because subsequently, the same values that you build within your family culture, between you and your spouse, you want to pass it on to your children. Would you want your children to exhibit the same behavior when they grow up? Okay, if you only prefer to visit the man's family, would you want that for your children? Quite unlikely. So just find an equilibrium around your life, and if you really struggle, it's a way of also trying to insulate yourself and trying to run away from perceived problems in the other family. Or if it is family is engaged in some behavioral patterns you don't appreciate, or certain cultural practices you don't appreciate, so you find an excuse and say, kwetu ni wachawi, we can't go that direction. But you can create a balance about it. They are humans. They would respond to your touch. They would respond to your smile. They will be affected by your generosity. Your kindness has a deep way to affect everyone around about. That family you don't want to visit. You can't change it.
Yeah. And I've loved that you've thrown in a Swahili word, because, you know, usually I'm very, very conservative with Richard in speaking Swahili. But we do have a question here for you, Mercy. He's saying, greetings. What is the difference between narcissistic and perfectism? I think he meant perfection.
Perfection.
He's Waweru of Kika and Vision X Kwadio Kayole. The difference between narcissist and perfectionism. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So narcissist is someone who admires himself, is full of himself, does not consider anyone else. He's the center of attention. So with perfectionism is being able to do things in a particular way, methodically, sequentially, or, you know, orderly. Yeah, so like you want your stuff to be done in this particular way. So that's a perfectionist. That's perfectionism.
All right, thank you so much, Waweru, for that question. But again, Mercy, does it always start off, you know, as toxic, as narcissistic from the get-go in the relationship, or does it build up slowly? Because sometimes we also hear about love bombing. You start off the relationship, it's all rosy, all bubbly, you know, chocolate here and there, everything is nice. But does it build up, or there are always signs from the very beginning that we often overlook and don't pay attention to?
I think there are always signs. There are always signs. And you know, the first time when people are relating, we call it the honeymoon period. Like, I want to show you the best. You can imagine when you have guests for the first time, you want to showcase, you know, and social media is a classic example, yeah? People showcase the best lives. But now when they come to therapy, then they begin to show who they are, like what is actually they're battling with. So in relationship, you'll realize the first time it may be difficult to pick, but the more you continue, you'll begin to realize, the way this person talks to the waiter, the way this person did this, then you'll be able to see these telltale signs. So there are always telltale signs. And I say, things don't go wrong. You see, now we are talking about dysfunctional families. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. And they start with the relationship between the mother and the father. How did that relationship be? The telltale signs, because I believe marriage magnifies what was there during the dating period. It's not a different person. It's just a magnification. And one thing that I hear, because I deal a lot with young people who are in relationships, and one thing that I hear a lot is, Mercy ata change. See ata change. He does this, but you know people, not everyone is perfect. I deal with Alpha and Gen Z. So like, si kila mtu ni perfect. So we have to accommodate, extend grace and all that. But I'm like, you're extending grace at whose expense? You know, yes, we are all imperfect, but if you realize there's 1, 2, 3 things that are toxic, if this person is beating you up, if this person is lashing negative words consistently about you, if this person is making, sometimes maybe they are, like people are doing very crazy things out here, you know, if they can do things to demean you as a person continuously, what is it? And the question that I always ask is, what is it that makes you stay? Because it does not go wrong.
Because we ask that question a lot. Why do people stay in toxic relationships?
Yeah,
Why do they stay? Just finish up with that. You know, sometimes they say that people go back, of course, to feel that feeling. But sometimes they're told, you know, just get out. It's getting quite unsafe. It's getting quite, you know, unhealthy for you as a person. But why is it hard now to leave that relationship?
Yeah.
Is it familiarity or what exactly?
I asked that question actually to so many young people. And one thing that has stood out from my experience doing therapy to young people is they always tell me, Mercy, it's a whole investment. You know, I've stayed with this person for 3 years. How do I start from scratch with another person? How long? And sometimes it's even the timelines. You know, I'm 30. How do I begin again? Where do I start? Or I'm 40. Or you know, so the timeline.
They feel
the society expects me. Already my parents, the pressures. Already my parents expect me to be married at this particular time. And I'm not. They want a grandchild to play with. So there are a lot of factors that make people stay. And that's why I say human beings are unique. So we need to understand from the individual's perspective, what is it that is making you stay in that relationship?
All right, maybe my director would just allow me 1 minute, of course, for Ziwa to talk to us now about the trauma that comes after, because that was the main topic of discussion, trauma after a toxic relationship. Of course, you've lived with a narcissist, you've faced all this toxicity, trauma in this relationship. Is there hope for you after, of course, going through all this in this relationship, for you as, say, the empath, the person who was in the receiving end, and to also the narcissist, do they find life after that?
Thank you. just to compliment what Mercy would say, has said, I would recommend a movie I watched many, many years ago. It's called The Devil Wears Prada. If you could find that movie, if you could find that movie, that will be helpful for you to know how a narcissist and a person who's toxic is like in the workspace and in relationship. Devil Wears Prada. It's an interesting movie. I think there is hope for every one of us. But it is a hard thing for people, some of us who are empath, to let go of a toxic man.
The hopeless romantics.
Those narcissistic individuals, it is hard. But I have to say the truth. You can't rescue that man. You're safer away from that man. Because even if some of them, when you send them for therapy and counseling, I've experienced some of them. They will always find something negative scripted about the person who is taking them through therapy. And they never even complete the therapy themselves. So when you find such people, women of time, there's nothing much you can do about it. You just need to protect yourself. However, there are those that if they adapt to a consistency of therapeutic help and counseling, they can recover themselves from themselves, not from anyone else, from themselves. If you can recover you from you, then you have a relationship round about you working for you. Because you stop playing the victim and work on you, work on the traumas you experienced as a young child. There are some things I personally went through that were very not traumatic. So pleasant. I didn't grow up with my mother, but you can work your way out of it. Yeah.
All right. Bottom line is you cannot change that partner. So, of course, you're saying the solution is for you to walk out and stay away from these narcissists as far as you can. That is Richard Ziwa Zimbalist, a counselor, and of course Mercy Nzuki, the mind advocate, who is also a psychologist. Thank you so much, Richard and Mercy, for making time for us to have this conversation on narcissism and of course toxicity in relationship. That's it for Relationship Wednesday. You're watching Morning Cafe. Do stay with us. My name is Anne Odida.